Hi, I'm Dave,
And I'm Paul.
and we're going to challenge you to transform your financial future through the principles of the most profitable business in the world, banking.
We believe everyone should be involved in two businesses, the business that you're in the banking business. Everyday people can replicate what bankers have been doing for centuries to leverage capital and build wealth through private lending.
Join us as we uncover the truths about money, expose lies and myths, and flip conventional financial advice on its head. Here we go. All right, Paul, how's it going, buddy?
Good. I went to where did I go today? I went to some caverns here in Virginia. And for a field trip, I was one of the male chaperones.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So
Yeah.
it was good. Got some steps in, saw some cool stuff. And,
Yeah,
and
hang out
nobody
with the
died.
kid.
So it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I might go on a field trip soon. My son's going on a boat on like St. Croix or something like that. So,
Oh, dang. Cool.
yeah, why not? Get out on the boat. As
Can
long
I
as the
see
weather's
your-
nice. If it's not, I won't.
Yeah, I got to be like August in Minnesota
Yeah.
going about.
Yeah.
No, but I see the background. You're at the new location as previously briefed.
Yeah, so I
Looks cool.
guess I did talk about this last week, right? About getting an office location from my buddy Jack, who graciously allowed me to take up residence in one of the buildings he owns. It's not being used right now, but check this out. That's an actual, no kidding, bank vault. So
Yep.
the door opens. It's used for just storing files and things, but this building is an old converted bank. So I'm sitting, no kidding,
Very cool.
right in front of a real live bank vault.
That means
Huge,
that
heavy
wall
door.
behind you's got to be.
Oh, it's
reinforced
it's
concrete.
Reinforced, yeah. Yep, I went in there and
Yep.
banged on the wall. It's solid. So, and it doesn't. It's not directly against the exterior wall. So, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice little setup. It gets me out of the house, so there's no background noise now. The only thing is I might sound a little different because I forgot the adapter for the laptop for the microphone, so I'm just using the headset here. Yeah.
That's
But
all right. You still sound like just pure gold.
thanks, man. Thanks. So, well, yeah. So I know we're a little time restricted today, but something. I want to talk about something that impacted me big time and really changed the trajectory of my financial life. Now, first and foremost, that was infinite banking, but that was like 14 years ago that I learned about this, right? But about 7 years ago, I heard somebody say, and I'll give credit where credit is due, is Grant Cardone, who I listened to him quite a bit, 6-7 years ago, because I was venturing into this new journey of becoming an entrepreneur and learning how to build wealth, how to make money. And one thing he said that stuck with me was 95% of your time and effort should be spent on increasing your income. 5% of your time and effort should be spent on cutting expenses. And up to that point in my life, I mean, being in the military, you're on a fixed income. You're not making additional cash, and frankly, you barely have the time to. You are a rare exception. Of course, at this point in your career, you have, maybe it's easier for you to carve time out as it was maybe earlier when you were more operational.
Yeah, correct. And I would say that, I do this after work and on the weekends, at night
Right.
or before work. So it's
Yeah, so I guess
Anyway.
everybody has those times, or most people, right? But what I had been focused on for decades was cutting my expenses. Hey, here's how much money I make every month. Let's cut this down to the minimal viable product as far as expenses in my life go.
so. And keep going. I just started buying generic cereal.
Hey, who does? Yeah, but you put it in the clear Tupperware so the kids don't
That's
know the
right.
difference.
They don't know.
But they know the difference. Trust me. My kids hate the generic stuff. So yeah, but I was doing all those things to cut the expenses. No cable. Never had any of that. I had cable maybe like 2 years of my adult life. That's it.
Yep.
The cheapest cell phone plans you can get, the prepaid cell phone plans, all this stuff, right? Cutting expenses. And I realized there's only so much cutting you can actually do until you actually have to spend money to live, right? You can't keep cutting. In fact, Expenses are going to rise naturally because of inflation, and there's nothing you can do about it. But when
Correct.
I made this mind shift 7 years ago that, okay, I'm going to start focusing on income. And what does Nelson say? It's all about the way you think. And if you read any kind of books from any of these, I hate to call them self-help gurus, but people who are all about mindset, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, the richest man in Babylon, that kind of stuff. You get what you focus on. I started focusing on income instead of cutting expenses. And in the last 7 years, I've more than 10x'd my annual income. And there's no way
Amazing.
that would have happened if I hadn't started focusing on income versus cutting expenses. So that's what we wanted to focus on today. And I want to bring that message to everybody because it made a gigantic difference in my life. Not right away, like it took several years for me to double my income. But then from there, my income doubled every single year for like the last 3 or 4 years. So
Yeah.
it's
And
incredible.
it's a tremendous, it's a tremendous life changer for you too, right?
Yeah,
It makes life more enjoyable as well.
it
Like,
really does.
we always kind of joke about eating ramen and, whatever in college or whatever. People have to do that to get by. And they kind of, some people stick with that and they go with that, I'm going to say Dave Ramsey kind of, this is how it needs to be.
Right. Or this is how you become a millionaire. You eliminate as many expenses as possible.
Right. You drive crappy
You
cars
drive crappy
and
cars. You live well below your means and just don't enjoy life, okay?
right. Have
Just
no abundance whatsoever.
none. Just think scarcity. And that,
And also screw the next generation. We don't care about them. They'll fend for themselves.
yeah, you don't need life insurance later in life because you'll be taken care of. You and your wife will be fine.
Right.
But, whatever. The kids are on their own. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I had a similar experience in that, like, I got, when I started kind of, you had just started, rehabbing homes, and I started doing some private lending, and I got a little taste of that increased income that I wasn't actually laboring for. And I'm not going to call it passive income or whatever, because it was, there was effort on my part to do due diligence and
Sure.
other things, right? So it's not really passive. But as
Yeah.
far as my labor, I didn't really have to, bang nails into a 2x4 to earn extra money or pick up a second job. I provided some capital to other people's talent and then received a portion of the reward. They got rewarded, right, when they sold the property or whatever.
Hmm.
And I got rewarded through collecting income that I didn't have to labor for. So, and once you get I remember thinking, it's been a while since I've actually thought about this. I remember thinking, wow, this is great. And I didn't spend it, right? So that was the difference, though. This was money I didn't spend. It's money I capitalized.
Yeah.
And then I rinsed and repeated, and eventually that, I was lending significant pools of capital to people, right? And that means those monthly checks or quarterly checks or biannual whatever became larger and larger and larger. And 5 years into it, I was like, dang, I've replaced almost one of our incomes with other income. The life
Nice.
insurance company would say passive income, right? Unearned income, right? That's what they say.
Yeah.
Because
Unearned
they always
income.
ask about it. What's the source of the unearned income?
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, it's real estate or it's VA disability
Right.
with our clients.
With our
But
clients, sure.
yeah. So it's all about the way you think, right? That's what Nelson says.
Yep.
And changing that one little thing turns into a gigantic thing over time. Where you focus is where you're going to get results. If you focus on decreasing expenses, you're going to decrease your expenses, but you're not going to increase your income.
Right.
If you focus on increasing your income, man, I tell you, another thing Grant Cardone said that stuck with me, probably just these two things, that first one and then this one, is income is the solution to your problems. You got problems, get more income, right? Easier said than done, of course, But what do we say about infinite banking? What's the solution?
Yeah, premium.
Premium, more premium,
Premium.
right? So that's the solution when it comes to infinite banking, which creates more opportunities, which allows you to use your skill in, say, underwriting a deal or an opportunity that comes along and earn more money by lending that skill to, to somebody else's effort.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So there's so many, and I think you just mentioned it, scarcity and abundance, such a different, and I don't want to make this a mindset show, but let's, there's plenty of those, mindset podcasts you can listen to, which I would recommend. But that's a big part of this, right? It's the way you think. What are you focusing on? And where do you want to be 10 years from now? Now start doing something to get there.
Yeah, it's, I think people just get caught up in the grind and they assume, oh, that's for them, or man, I wish I could be doing what those guys over there are doing. But we know a ton of people that were, more or less ordinary people. Not that they're ordinary, but they were a W-2 employee, just, 9 to 5 in the grind, wife and kids, or husband and kids, whichever, and doing their thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people are just there's no space for. They're like, all right, I have nothing else to think about. But then there's other people who maybe are more entrepreneurial mindset. They have maybe they don't like being an employee, and they have that affinity for striking out on their own and wanting to go do something different, and they're looking for those things. And that's why I think, especially when they understand capital accumulation, that's why the infinite banking concept appeals to them, number one, from an IBC perspective. But then, like you said, once they're doing that, the landscape of opportunity, their aperture is just wide open now, and they're starting to see things that they never saw before. But sadly, we know a lot of smart people, but sadly, a lot of people are never going to see it. I've talked to the guys at work about this, and we talk about all kinds of stuff, but finances comes up, and I was like, listen, and this took a while for me to understand, is that, I've always liked money ever since I was a kid, and I always wanted it. I always wanted to acquire more of it. But again, as a military guy, you're kind of stuck. You get your pay raise every year, or every 2 years, or whatever, and then maybe you get promoted if you do well enough. But I, through reading and study, I discovered, hey, if I just increase my productivity and maybe branch out and do something different, I can increase my means, right?
Yeah.
And people can do it. And I'm glad we're doing an episode kind of like this, where it's not really a mindset thing, but it's kind of just get people to think of, there's things out there that can be done. There's a need out there that needs to be filled. And I've already got my kids thinking about this. When we move to that next neighborhood, I'm like, there's going to be plenty of wealthy older people that have pets, and they want to go travel somewhere. And you're going to be the only kids in the neighborhood, probably, or there's a few kids, but
and they have big yards.
Guess what?
Maybe they don't want to mow, right?
All that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's going to be a tremendous opportunity there for them to just stack cash.
Yeah.
By just walking dogs, letting them out, feeding them, whatever. Anyway, so looking for opportunity, and I think that's part of this IBC, mindset shift, is that and I want to be independent financially. I want to be prosperous. I want to live an abundant life. But you got to be looking, and you have to take, and there's effort that goes into it. You can't just be like, blase, blah, just got to fall out of the sky like, oh, there's $1 million.
Right. Or, oh, so-and-so was lucky because they stumbled into that profession, that business or whatever that made them a lot of money. That's not the case. That person is not lucky. That person was looking for something and they pursued it.
Yes. For sure.
Think about it this way too. What is more enjoyable? Trying to increase your income, so earn more, or trying to spend less? How are you going to wake up motivated every day? Like, I'm going to spend less money today. By golly.
Right. I can't wait to cancel that Netflix subscription.
I can't wait to stop doing the things that I enjoy doing so I can save.
Right.
spend less money. No, you know what's way more enjoyable is waking up every day is how can I increase my means today? What am I going to do to build what I'm building in order to increase my means, to protect my family, to create more financial wealth, long-term wealth, to pay more premium so I can capture more permanent wealth and generational tax-free income to my kids and beyond. What am I going to do today to make that happen? Let me give you a quick story. There's a guy I worked
Yeah.
with on base during my drill weekends, and he said his brother, maybe his brother-in-law, he's like, get this, during COVID, my brother-in-law was working from home like everybody, and he was so bored with his job, it was only taking maybe 2 or 3 hours a day for him to do this full-time job that he got
Remote
on
guy.
remote. Yeah. He got on LinkedIn and talked to a recruiter and ended up getting a second job, full-time job. He did this. He got that job and he's like, well, I only have two jobs and I'm still feel like I can, I'm not even working 8 or 10 hours a day. He ended up having 4 full-time jobs at the exact same time. So this dude realized, like, what makes you think you only need one job? Who who brainwashed us to think that you have an employer, that's the only person you can make money from? Go get, if you're remote and your work is taking you 4 hours to complete, go get a second remote job and do them at the same time. I thought that was brilliant. Eventually, he ended up going to a conference where some people from one of the other jobs were there, and they were like, "Hey, Brian, I didn't know you were going to be here. I didn't think your department did this." So he was
Oh,
like,
that's so
"Okay,
great.
I think I'm going to have to get rid of one of these jobs." But I thought that was ingenious. Like, it's somebody looking for something, not saying, "Well, I've got a job. I can't work another job." Right? Who says you can't? You have freedom over your right to labor. You can do whatever you want.
No, absolutely. I mean, I remember, I grew up in a household where my father worked multiple jobs, and it was kind of out of necessity. I don't, and maybe he wanted to, because that generation. He was born in the late '40s, so that generation kind of work is work, and you do what you have to do
Right.
as a man to provide for your family. So yeah, and I've lived that. I've been doing basically 2 full-time jobs since the end of 2019, more or
Yeah.
less. Right.
Same. I've been doing the same for at least 4 years, 4.5 years
Yep.
of essentially two full-time
Yep.
jobs. One of them not really
Yeah.
getting paid from. It's just building equity for the future.
Right.
Right.
Right. But before that, Dave, if you guys remember, he was an airline pilot and doing IBC as a licensed agent. And it was, it's tough, but if you want more abundance, sometimes you're going to have to put in work. Not sometimes, you're going to have to put in work. And that's not saying you have to have 5 jobs for 40 years straight. That's not the message we're saying. We're just talking about, hey, if you want more, go out there and get it, because there's more to be had for sure.
Yeah. Make yourself more valuable so that somebody will pay you money to provide value. They'll pay you. I don't think it takes much to become an expert on anything these days. People are so scattered. Everybody thinks they can multitask and I can do this and that at the same time. I'm going to be a jack of all trades. Focus on something. You know what makes you an expert is knowing more than the person you're talking to. You're an expert in
Right.
their eyes. If you
That's right.
focus on something, probably for 1 year, you spend an hour a day studying a subject, a business, learning something new for an hour a day for a year, you'll be probably in the top 10% of the world in whatever that thing is. Assuming it's something that is a natural fit for you. Don't try to force a square peg in a round hole. Do something that comes natural. If something comes easy to you, it's because it's a strength of yours.
Yeah.
Focus on that.
Yeah, focus on your unique ability. I think everyone has it. Like, like our podcast producers, Ryan and Jack. They, we've often, we couldn't have produced this podcast without them, right? Without their expert, unique ability, and their, and their experience and their technological know-how, all the things, and their insight too, just on how we spoke or how the podcast was going to be, and it was just, it was just incredible to me. And they were young, dudes, compared to us, especially Ryan. I think
Yeah.
he's a bit younger, but
Right.
we see that sometimes in this business too. Like, a lot of people want to do IBC. They want to become an agent. They want to sell life insurance. Oh, I can do that. And sometimes I think, and I looked up a stat today. I actually heard it on another podcast. Ryan was talking about it actually, and it was like 90% of life insurance agents fail in the first year, and then out of the 10% remaining, another whatever percent fail over the next 5 years. So I think over 5 years of that original cohort, 95% are not in the business in 5 years.
Right.
Right. And I'm actually coming up, this is my 5th year. This fall will be my 5th full year in the business. So I've made it.
Yeah.
And you've made it.
We beat the odds. Yeah.
But the thing is, part of that is unique ability. Not that
Right.
I'm like, you and I are God's gift to life insurance agents and the infinite banking concept. We're not. But we live, eat, and breathe IBC. I mean, I carry Nelson's book in my backpack every day. Right.
Yeah. Because we're interested. We're drawn to it. It's something
I'm
that
drawn. Yes.
it connects with us. Right.
It connects with us. We enjoy it.
Yeah. And we enjoy teaching
that's
others.
what it. Correct. That's it for me. I mean, and I know, and for you as well. It's really wonderful when the light bulb moment goes off. But I'll say that it takes a tremendous amount of study, dedication, and interest. Like, we love this.
Right.
We have a podcast, 118 episodes in now. Is that right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I think
right,
this
right?
is 118. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 118. So we love this, and we listen to other people. If you don't have that, you will never be great at the thing you're trying to do. I don't care what it is. If you don't have an affinity for it, like a true love for whatever you're doing, it's never going to be that. You need to be passionate about what you're doing. We have real estate guys that do real estate, and they love it. They love all of it. They like providing a better home for people. They like making the money, obviously. They like bringing other people in to help them make money. They love all that stuff, and they're good at it. That, I think that's what it's going to take.
Yeah. Find something you enjoy.
Willy-nilly.
Yeah. Because if you don't love what you're doing, if you don't at least really enjoy it, you're not going to do it for the long term. There's no way I could do something for 6 years like I've been doing this. If I didn't enjoy it, if it was a drain on me every day, forget it. Like real estate, when I was doing that full time, that was a drain. I did not enjoy it. And that's why I stopped doing it, found something else.
Right. Yep.
So yeah, so that's good. I mean, this is going to be a short episode, but I think it's important to, you get what you focus on. And when you have increased income, guess what? You can do a lot more in life, live a lot more enjoyably, put a lot more into premium. And it's kind of fun when you get to the point where you don't have to.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah. Of course. Let's finish off with that. But you get to the point where you don't have to spreadsheet and say, can I make this happen? If I take from here and put it over here, it's time for another policy. Let's put more premium there. But anyway, Grant Cardone said spend 5% of the time on cutting expenses. So I'll spend like 5 seconds talking about cutting expenses. Like, cut your expenses. If you got stupid stuff, get it out of your life. You're not going to miss it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Because no matter how much income you make, if you can't conquer Parkinson's law, like Nelson says, if your expenses always rise to meet your income, no income is going to be the solution. No amount of income is going to help you. So get a hold of that. And it's funny, as you start working on building something and growing something, you care less about those other things like the newest car, or I really want that, that designer purse or shoes, whatever. You start to care a lot less about that stuff and more about just continuing to build. It's fun.
Yeah. Like, I could buy a Rolex, right? Many of us can go buy a Rolex.
Yeah.
And maybe someday I will. But I know people that have really expensive watches, and
They'll make a lot of
their
money.
income is not right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's fine. Great.
And
Makes you feel good. And you only live once. I'm saying, by all means, spend your money the way you want it. But,
and you can spend
I
it
wanna
all
leave.
as long as you got a lot of permanent death benefit to leave behind
That's true.
to replace it.
It is a license to spend. Remember that, folks.
license to spend.
Death
Spend it
benefit
all.
comes in. You have a license to spend your other assets.
Yep.
Think about that. If you're not on board yet, oh my goodness.
There you go.
Maybe that's the next. Maybe there's a next episode there.
I like that.
Anyway, I got to
License to
take
spend.
Anthony to base. It's a
Yeah.
license to spend.
All right, man. Get to baseball. Our game got canceled for rain, so I've got another free evening. Yeah. But
Right on.
yeah,
Right on.
it is what it is. Well, everybody, hope you enjoyed and have a great week. Until next time, control your capital.
Or somebody else will.
Hey, thanks for listening, everybody. If you'd like to have a conversation with us to see how you can become your own banker, or if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to tackle on a future episode, please send us an email to davidandpaul@theibcguys.com. And subscribe and leave us a review if you're on Apple. Follow and leave us a 5-star review if you're on Spotify. And please share this with your friends. We'll see you next week.